Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. On the 18th of December, after a turbulent season, Manchester United announced that Jose Mourinho had been sacked. It came as little surprise to most fans, but what was a surprise was when club legend Solskjaer was appointed as interim manager. Even more surprisingly, after a run of good form, he was appointed as the permanent manager. But what exactly has been his impact at the club so far, and how has he evolved the team since coming in? Well, in this video we take a look at how Solskjaer has changed United. And if you're new to the channel and would like to join the community and get many more football videos, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you enjoy the video, a like and a share would go a long way. Now, let's get into it. When assessing Solskjaer and Mourinho's reigns, we'll be using a combination of tactical factors, statistical factors, and more. A good place to start to receive both of these and more is today's video sponsor, OneFootball. OneFootball is the best app to receive football news, check out stats, and more. So if you want to support the channel and get the best football app at the same time, download it through the link in the description. So, in order to assess the tail end of Mourinho's reign, as well as Solskjaer's, we'll use a few key areas, including tactics, squad harmony, and statistics. We'll start with Mourinho. Counterintuitively, one of the worst things that happened to Mourinho was finishing second in 2017-18. Such a high league position only served to paper over the cracks. The expected points total from that season showed that United should have finished closer to 6th, but they outperformed their XG by 9 goals. But importantly, they conceded 16 goals less than their expected goals against had them down for, thanks to De Gea's unbelievable form. Mourinho understood this and consistently talked about how they needed a squad overhaul, especially in defense. But the United board may have been convinced by the table that only a few squad tweaks were required to challenge for the title, when that wasn't the case. As a result, he only got Dalot and Fred in the transfer window. Fast forward to the point where he was sacked in 18-19, and the expected points had reverted back to what they should have been, and United found themselves in 6th place. So let's have a general look at what tactics he used that led to this. Generally, he lined up in a 4-3-3 and tended to attack down the centre. In attack, he was conservative, not allowing his fullbacks the freedom to join the attack, and mostly depending on the forwards for most of the attacks. In fact, his backline didn't operate high up the pitch, even when in possession, instead maintaining a medium block. This attacking style stemmed from a lack of faith in his centre-backs. By keeping the fullbacks and the midfield fairly withdrawn, he looked to preemptively protect them on the defence. And, when defending, he would get the whole team to drop back into a compact block. This meant that there was limited pressing in order to protect these centre-backs. When he did choose to press, he mainly used a man-oriented press. There's no inherent problem with this pressing style, but if you use this system you have to press as a team. But the defensive fear meant that they only pressed as 1s and 2s, meaning that gaps were easily created for the opposition. And sitting deep meant that when they did win the ball, they were too far from goal for an incisive counter-attack, as Mourinho kept only one forward high. But at the same time, he was criticised in 17-18 for being too defensive, and he tried to correct this by opening up, with little success. This fear of overcommitment was confirmed by Jose himself. So when he left, United had scored the least out of the top 6 teams whilst conceding the most. This, paired with squad disharmony, with many players discontent with his abrasive style, meant that the sacking was bound to come. He publicly criticised players like Pogba, Luke Shaw, and Martial, which reduced morale, and his tactics didn't go down well with the squad, with Pogba coming out with a thinly veiled attack on the playing style. And then in came Solskjaer. Let's look at what he did off the pitch before coming on to the on-the-pitch performance. Well, it's important to acknowledge that as a club legend, he was always going to receive some leeway. But the first smart thing he did was to get the media and players on his side. Regarding the media, where Mourinho would often be abrasive and negative when answering questions, Solskjaer would patiently respond to most questions in a positive manner. This, paired with also making statements the fans would want to hear, helped him, as he would often talk about wanting to bring back the United way and taking some pages from Ferguson's book. He also dealt with his players and the media differently. Where Mourinho would often focus on the negative aspects of a player's performance, Solskjaer did the opposite, seeking every chance to praise his players. Even when he did criticize them, he did it in the form of a challenge, emphasizing that he knew they could do better. All of this increased the overall squad morale, with players such as Pogba coming out positively in the media. But the on-pitch performance is what matters most, and Solskjaer's reign can be split into two. The point splitting the two is the announcement of Oli getting the permanent role. Whether this was coincidence or not, I'll leave to you. When Solskjaer came in, there was an immediate upturn in form, winning 10 of his first 12 matches and being top of the form table during this period. They were free-flowing in attack, scoring 29, the most in the top 6, and they were watertight in defence, with only Liverpool conceding less during this period. The upturn in form was personified by the rapid improvement of both Pogba and Rashford. The stats back up the improvement from Mourinho's era. They were on the front foot now, with their shots per game rising, which was in line with the rising possession and passes per game as well. The shots were also of a higher quality, with more being from within the box, which are all positive signs. So what was the difference tactically? Well, in many ways he did take a leaf out of Ferguson's book, with fairly simple tactics that were executed well. Unlike the rigidity of the Mourinho era, Solskjaer was willing to adapt from game to game, using the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2 and variations of a back 3 as well. But the most common occurrence was a 4-3-3. He moved Rashford to the centre forward role, which allowed him to flourish, unlike when he was shunted out to the wings under Mourinho. This immediately increased his impact on the team, as he scored more often, and putting trust in an academy prospect also put the fans further onto his side. Lukaku, a player who had been losing confidence rapidly under Mourinho and came under fire, was dropped, allowing him to rebuild his confidence. Tactically, a big difference made by Solskjaer was more faith in the team's attacking instincts. When the ball was in midfield, where Mourinho held the fullbacks back, Solskjaer encouraged both fullbacks to get higher up the pitch, which would subsequently allow the wingers to come in and add more numbers in the box. Another key difference is that where Mourinho had been so keen to protect the centre-backs by keeping the midfield reserved, Solskjaer particularly allowed Pogba high up the pitch to attack the box. This would put him in positions to both score and assist more often. He brought Herrera back into the team, so that he and Matic could cover the midfield when Pogba advanced. This double pivot reduced the defensive responsibility on Pogba, as he confirmed himself. When defending, they usually kept two forwards high up the pitch, meaning they defended in more of a diamond. Lingard or Mata were usually one of the three forwards, and they would drop in, leaving Rashford and Martial higher up the pitch. At the same time, he pushed the backline higher, meaning that they were more compact, and they used a pressing system reminiscent of Liverpool, where Salah and Mane would cut off the wide passing angles, whilst Firmino dropped deep, allowing the two forwards to stay high up the pitch for a counter-attack. They switched their man-oriented press for a more zone-oriented press, meaning that when they did press, it was more as a unit. So, when they won the ball, the high line meant that they were closer to their opponent's goal, so Pogba could quickly play the ball through to the two forwards, waiting on the shoulder, which was a counter-attack strategy we saw often. Lastly, when Lukaku did play, it was often off the right-hand side, with Lingard as a false 9. Again, this allowed a diamond in defense, and allowed Lukaku to play facing the goal more often, as opposed to as a target man, meaning that he could use his pace and strength, a change which Solskjaer confirmed himself. And now we get into the second half of his spell. In his next 9 fixtures, Solskjaer's team accumulated only 8 points, the 4th worst in the league during this period. Their goal scoring rate declined rapidly, whilst they started to leak goals as well. Their shots per game reduced, and they were now of a lower quality, with many more shots being from outside the box. This implies that they were now struggling for creativity, with their possession and passing stats dropping as well. Pogba, their chief creator, also saw his statistics begin to decline. But what were the tactical differences? Well, the thing is, in the first part of his spell, they were outperforming their XG and expected points, so although the tactics were roughly similar, they now underperformed these stats, because as we know, stats tend to revert to their mean. But one of the clear tactical factors that changed was the defensive discipline. Remember how one of the big factors in the improvement was compactness? Well, slowly they began to lose this discipline, with the forwards still trying to press higher, but it became common for the centre-backs to still drop deep. This would open up massive gaps between the lines which opponents would take advantage of. A key factor for this was the team fell back into old habits and returned to man-oriented pressing. With the centre-backs dropping off, the midfielders began to be drawn towards the ball, meaning they were easily manipulated to create gaps. This was particularly evident in the Manchester derby, when the City front 3 wreaked havoc between the lines. But overall, the statistics still indicate that Solskjaer's reign has been better than the tail end of Mourinho's reign, with a more attacking style of play. But the downward trend should be a concern, with serious work needing to be done in what remains of the transfer window. 2019-20 will give us a clearer idea of exactly what level of manager Solskjaer is. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.